Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on Channel 1 television. On The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We're live tonight, and it's politics. Election 2024 is 4 months and a few days away. The leading opposition party, the NDC, launched its campaign in Tamale with some very big crowds and lots of chanting and sloganeering and promises. I've caught up with two of the interesting people who showed up on those platforms to talk to them about their views around their chances of the NDC. And these people are from a very interesting background. They are media people. One of them is entertainment, media, fashion, and all of that. So we're speaking to KOD live in studio. Shamima Muslim also joins us to review the NDC's campaign launch and to assess the chances of their party, because now they are members of the NDC, for election 2024. Stay with us. So welcome back. My guest in studio is Kofi Ochredako, who is known as KOD. Former, what are you? Broadcaster, fashion designer.
Do we ever retire, Bernard? I mean, as broadcasters, we never retire.
So you're a broadcaster, fashion designer.
Yeah, record label executive.
Record label executive.
Looking at getting back into the music industry, you know, after taking a walk in 2008. It's one of the things I plan doing again.
And a politician now?
Well, you could say so. Are we all not politicians?
Some are practicing and some are
well, yeah, active politicians.
Some are active and some are practicing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to take viewers to Saturday, because it was quite an interesting scene to see you on stage. Would that be your first time?
On a political platform, yes.
Speaking?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
First time?
First time.
It didn't look like it. Let's see what KOD did on Saturday.
Hey, I stand in front of you as Ghanaians with a strong conviction that we need that change that we've been yearning for. And that's why I stand here today to endorse His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as the next president of the Republic of Ghana. I endorse President Mahama because he embodies the leadership and vision of a country, one that needs to be done in this very turbulent time in our country's history.
So that was rather short. That was rather short. I mean, is it that? I mean, there was a lot of time constraints, right?
Yeah, but you didn't play the full thing.
Oh, there's a longer version.
Oh, yeah, there's
maybe the team didn't like the rest of what you said. Well, let me say good evening to Shamima Muslim as well. She's joining us from home. Shamima, good evening.
Good evening, Bernard.
Thank you for joining us.
What a long time it has been.
Yes, long time. I haven't spoken to you in a while. How are you?
I'm well. Grace abounds.
You are fully dressed in NDC colors. Okay. Let me see if the video of Let me see if the video of you will be longer. So let me take viewers to Tamale. This is Shamima. I think Shamima spoke before you
yeah,
did.
she did before.
And she spoke for a bit of time.
Yeah.
So let me see how long they got for me. Shamima, let's see your performance.
Reporting live here from the Jubilee Park. This is your daughter, your sister, your mother, Humaya Shamima Muslim, Matan Al-Hassan Bango, together with the greater Economic family. I am so honored at the welcome that you have given to me, the people of Tamale, and the entire northern regions. I am your proud daughter. Thank you. Until recently, many of you knew me as the host of Eyewitness News and Metro Television. And so I know that when you saw me on TV speaking for the great NDC, some of you were surprised. But I was surprised at your surprise. Because knowing me, you know that I have a passion for accountability and justice. This is why I am today speaking for the NDC. You see, ASU, character is everything in leadership. Today our nation is in crisis. Our nation is at a crossroads because of the deep mismanagement and recklessness of the new patriotic party under the leadership of Nana Akufo-Addo Baumia, and Nako. Today, they tell us that we should let them break the age. We will let them break the age. I was heartbroken as a breastfeeding mother when I took my little girl to the clinic and I was told then that there was shortage of vaccines. This was the same time that our president, the vanguard of democracy, was busily flying luxurious private jets across the length and breadth of this world, spraying us with bath water and telling us to tighten our belts. Is this a leader we should trust? Is this a government that cares for the people? Don't think so. I felt sad and I even cried when I learned later on that 17 helpless Ghanaians lost their lives. They died because the renal unit at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital had been closed down because of government indebtedness to it.
So that was the highlights of Shamima's speech. Shamima, would that be your first time on a political platform? I'm not sure she is. Shamima, you're muted.
Yes, Bernard.
So this would be this is your first time on a partisan political platform campaigning?
Yes.
Wow. So was the speech written?
The speaking points were written. I went over them in the night, actually. I went over it over and over again. And yes, wow. So I did. That's how I did it.
So when did the decision happen that you would transition fully into politics?
So I think that somewhere last year, Bernard, you know that after I left the media, I went back into my development work, but this time by setting up ALMA. So I did ALMA from 2017. But towards the beginning of last year, I think the calling was quite strong, because I kept asking myself, what next in the scheme of affairs? In fact, after we did the local elections campaign for increasing women's participation in local governance and the results came out, I was deeply heartbroken, because here is district level elections and we're hoping that we would be seeing some progress given all the work that had been done over the years to build capacity of women to contest, help them sometimes with resources. And yet the numbers as we have them now, we had about 4.1% of women elected into the district assembly. So that was worrisome to me. And I thought that, no, we can't all keep saying that women should go into public life, into politics, when those of us who are telling other women to do these same things are able and capable to do those same things. Because ultimately the numbers won't increase if the numbers going into politics do not increase. And unfortunately after the primaries as well, when quite a number of women lost their primaries, and it became evident that it would be a miracle if we were to retain the about 14% or so women representation in our 275 member parliament. So as of last year, it was clear that the next path was what it was going to be. And so I started preparations from then by supporting various committees of the NDC. And eventually I decided to come out and openly campaign for the NDC and John Dramani Mahama, because in principle, I believe wholly and fully that the NDC and JM deserve a mandate again.
So have you always been NDC, or is it the time that made you choose, because you are talking about your work in women in politics. So is it that you are done women in politics, women are not entering, and you decide to choose one side, or you always had a soft spot for NDC?
I've always had a soft spot for NDC, but I've always known how to put those things in different silos. You would know, Bernard, that when I was in the media, the NDC was in power, not so. And no one would say that I gave the NDC a free pass at all. In fact, since I came out on the NDC platform, there have been several comments, several surprises. People were saying that, really, what, you had sympathies for us all this time and you did what you did, because ethically and principally, if I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have been able to come out boldly on the platform of the NDC, because I have always said that a party in government will always have more questions to answer than a party in opposition. So it was just as it was that my media career started in the year that the NDC won the election. So after the first year of asking the NPP to account for their stewardship, the guns had to be turned to the NDC that was in government. And one of the reasons why, because I always say that the decision to go into politics was not forced on me. And perhaps from my history, my family, and where I am currently, I could still be active behind the scene. There are a lot of people who support political parties behind the scene, but I wasn't going to use a media platform to execute the political agenda of any political party, whether that party was traditionally my preference in terms of ideology and some other considerations. I wasn't going to do that. I am glad that I was able to do a very professional job, that people today can say that, yes, you did execute your job professionally, guided by the ethics of the profession, and we wouldn't even have known that you had any sympathies whatsoever for the NDC. I am happy about that. It is the same integrity that I intend and pray to bring into this new role, and it's the same integrity with which I invite people who followed me then to come on board this change train, because I have experienced directly, as you have, Bernard, both the NPP and the NDC in opposition and in power, and I have come to the considered opinion that the NDC in power and in opposition is more tolerant to criticisms, especially even citizens' criticisms and media criticisms. Today, there are 79 reported cases of violations against journalists under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo and Nana Bawumia, President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia. Today, the Afrobarometer report tells us that under President Akufo-Addo, we are seeing increasing high-handedness, also against the media, and the deteriorating of accountability institutions. All these convince me that the NDC is more tolerable to criticisms and creating a freer society for citizens than the New Patriotic Party, per my experience. Bernard.
I'll come to your speech and then your experience in politics in the past few weeks. But let me come to my guest in studio. Okay, so what about you? Have you always been NDC too?
It's pretty interesting. I have a very interesting political background.
Okay.
I think my closest or first encounter with anything political, I must have been around 4 years.
4 years old?
That should have been in like probably in 1983.
Okay.
As a result of one of the excesses of the revolution. My mother was standing right there. My dad was working in the prison service. Okay. At the time, he was a commandant of the prison service, and they were establishing the prison's church. Okay. You know, these soldiers showed up from nowhere and wanted to take away, you know, what the ladies were cooking. My mother, the ladies, you know, for the inauguration of the prison's church. Wow. My mother was a no-nonsense woman. You know, she fought the soldiers.
She fought the soldiers?
Yes, of course. They hit her with a AK-47 and shot at her. Luckily, she didn't die. She was
in front of you?
In front of me. I was standing right there. At age 4. Hey. You know, interestingly, my uncle P.V. Obey also worked in government at the time. So by close of that day, we found out who those soldiers were. Whatever happened to them, I don't know. Wow. Right around that time, you know, when women were being empowered in this country, my mother was a founding member of the 31st December Women's Movement as well. As a little boy, I went with her to the marketplaces when they were establishing the 31st the creche for the market women. My mother was very pivotal in the establishment of the 31st December bakery, which was also meant to empower not just you know, women around Ghana, but also the women who were married to men in the security services, because most of them stayed at home just to take care of the kids once their husbands were out. So it was something to empower the women. Okay. So I grew up, you know, knowing these things. My father was elevated in the 80s, late 80s, as director of prisons when we lived at the State House, right next to the now Parliament House. That's where we had the National Tribunal. Okay. And my mom had a bar there. So most of these guys would come around, you know, people in the security agencies, the late squadron leader. So it was a place where they would come around very often to have political conversations in those days. And that's
so this is the early 80s?
Mid to late 80s.
Mid to late 80s.
You know, and I sat in some of these conversations.
So PV Obing is your uncle, yes, on the maternal or paternal?
Maternal side, from Adanzi Akrotre.
So your mother's cousin?
Cousin, yes.
Wow.
You know,
Did he used to come to your house?
Yeah, my house at Bridge. Yeah, because I mean, he was in office at the time.
So who sent those soldiers to come in?
Oh no, that's why I said it was part of some of the excesses of the revolution, because no one sends them.
Because some people, on the basis of how soldiers treated them, disliked the PNDC.
I don't think so. It was just, you know, soldiers probably taking advantage of the season, knowing that we're in power and we can, you know, just take advantage of the situation and just.
So your mother was a founding member of 31st December. So she knew Nana Akunedo Ajimara.
Yes, of course. Yes, very well.
What's your mother's name?
Margaret Edu.
Still alive?
She died 20 years ago this year.
Forgive. So she was a member of the...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, so I grew up in that space. I'm sure you can tell from most of my pictures on social media. I had a very close relationship with President Rawlings, who was very interested in seeing me where I am today. It's unfortunate how this is happening when he's gone to be with his maker. But he always saw something in me and thought, listen, I know where you find yourself. You come from that background of integrity and doing things the right way because of who your father was. But given the opportunity, I think you should be part of national service. And I thought where we find ourselves as media practitioners, it's a way of also serving the nation. So I didn't...
So you never really came out?
No, never came out.
But at heart, you've been NDC?
I've always had a very soft spot for the NDC because of my background, who my mother was, you know, my father, what I saw around me, you know. My godmother was a lady called Cecilia. Cecilia, she was actually back in the 80s, they were called regional secretaries as a minister. She was the Greater Accra regional secretary. I don't know, I can't remember the full name.
The name
Cecilia, yes,
exactly.
This is
Johnson?
Not Johnson. Johnson was one of the founding members of 31st December as well. And these were like personalities that I saw around me growing up. And, you know, they all had...
But when did you... Because you also worked at Radio Gold.
Yes.
Because when I saw you on the stage, I assumed that it was your radio... Because Suhini was at Radio Gold.
No.
A lot of the Radio Gold journalists ended up being... So it was nothing to do with Radio Gold.
No, I think Radio Gold also gave me a certain leaning. But then, I don't know if you recall, in 2007, I was part of the team that launched... In 2008, that launched Nana Akufo-Addo's campaign. Do you remember Believe in Ghana?
Yes, BIG.
Yes, BIG was one of them.
So
not just me, with my artists and all, A+, I was managing WUTA and producing WUTA at the time.
But that was business, not politics.
Well, it was more business, yes.
So did you support Nana Addo in 2008?
From a business, in 2008, yes. Went all around with my musicians, you know, just helping him. But then again, I listened to the guy at the time, you know, His Excellency, and what his plans were for this country. Wow. And I thought, okay, well, this is someone who's been very active in the political space since 1972, 73. Very articulate, you know, talking about all the things we ought to do as a country to take this country to the next stage. So I thought, well, President Kufuor had his time. After 8 years, usually typical of us, you know, we want to say bye-bye to you. But for someone who's also been very, you know, out there over the years, maybe he should be given an opportunity. And I had, you know, an opportunity to listen to him, speak to some of us as creatives, and what he had planned for the creative sector of this country, the orange economy. I thought he wouldn't do bad at all.
So 2008, your artists worked for him.
They worked for him.
And you supported him?
Yes, I supported him.
What about 2012?
2012, no. I had taken a walk from after 2000. 2012, I leaned back towards, you know, the NDC.
But So this appearance on the stage.
This is my first time on a
first
political platform. Yes.
But when did you decide that you would do this?
I looked at where we find ourselves as a country. I looked at where the conversations I'd had with people who are in this government. In my opinion, strong conviction. I thought if there was anyone who was supposed to take this country to the next level beyond Osagyefo for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, it was probably going to be Nana Akufo-Addo. I sincerely
seriously?
I thought so.
I see.
You know, I listened to his speech at the Independence Square when he was swearing in.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. I thought, okay, well, I mean, it's too sad the NDC didn't win, but let's see what he does. And this could be a changing point for this country. I look back and I'm like, no way. You know, it was...
So you're saying you decided to openly come out for NDC because of what?
Where we find ourselves in our economic life as a country. I think there should be, you know, the world is going through a turbulent time economically, but also knowing what we've received from donors over the years, what we've had. I mean, everyone's complaining on the ground. People are crying in this country, but if you look at the size of government, it tells you that they're not feeling that pinch. They don't even feel it. They don't make an effort. You know, for instance, today there's been a communique in Nigeria. The president has decided to cut down the size of his government to about 36, I believe. He's decided to scrap the office of the the first lady, because economically they are not doing well. People can feel it on the ground. You want to see it being portrayed from the government standpoint. People need to see that as well, to know that the government is having a pinch of what the ordinary people are going through. In this country, we didn't experience anything like that. You know, even when just recently the president appointed more people, we have a lot more people joining the government of this present.
So let me get this right. Yes. You've always been NDC at heart.
Yes, always been.
But you decided to come up because you are disappointed in the Akufo-Addo government.
Yes.
And you think this is the time to do this?
This is the time to do this.
All right. Let me go back, Shamima, and see if I can analyze their speech a bit. Shamima, I don't know if I can play another highlight of your speech. You unlike KOD, I didn't hear you attack Akufo-Addo. You just spoke about John Mahama.
For me, essentially, it's to sell that candidate.
So you
are
in to endorse John Mahama.
To endorse John Mahama.
But okay, let me do something. Can you guys play Shamima's speech again? I thought you were. She didn't take any prisoners. She went for the throat of all the people. Let me give me a highlight of Shamima's speech again. Then I'll quiz her on it.
Reporting live here from the Jubilee Park. This is your daughter, your sister, your mother, Kumaya Shamima Muslim, Matan Al-Hassan Bango, together with the greater Ketanonsu family. I am so honored at the welcome that you have given to me, the people of Tamale, and the entire northern regions. I am your proud daughter. Thank you. Until recently, many of you knew me as a host of Eyewitness News and Metro Television. And so I know that when you saw me on TV speaking for the great NDC, some of you were surprised. But I was surprised at your surprise. Because knowing me, you know that I have a passion for accountability and justice. This is why I am today speaking for the NDC. You see, character is everything in leadership. Today our nation is in crisis. Our nation is at a crossroads because of the deep mismanagement and recklessness of the new patriotic party under the leadership of Nana Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and Nako.
This doesn't sound like a novice in politics. Introducing yourself, plugging into the transparency thing, and going for Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and Napo in one. You seem like an old horse, even though you claim this is your first time. I mean, that was serious.
Bernard, you know that we have been in current affairs all our lives, right from Radio Universe through to CFM and Metro Television. So, I mean, I think that kind of approach stems from a deep, understanding and a deep experience with the political actors. So perhaps that is where that experience comes from. So it's not like the issues we speak about is new. And it's curious, KOD mentions 2008. We're in the media then. Remember, I joined City in 2008. It was an election year, and that's when we started campaign trail, if you recall.
Yes.
And we were on the trail of all the political parties. I would also tell you that the Believe in Ghana agenda resonated with me then very, very strongly, even as a journalist. So there are a lot of people who bought into the message of, President Akufo-Addo in the time that he was in opposition, and many people voted for him, even people who may not have been members of the New Patriotic Party or sympathizers of the New Patriotic Party. And it is the exact same things, because I don't have a mic today. I believe if I had a mic today and I was before a screen today, what I did with the NDC might even be worse with the accountability I would insist upon. Some of us don't know how to do things half-heartedly. We are either in or we are not. And when we understand the situation and we have lived through different eras, then we have to call leaders out for what they are, especially if they are not congruent with what they have preached in the past. And I should think that even in being the NDC, being inside the NDC and being inside politics, I should think that I should be able to speak my mind and be able to speak truth, because that is one of the reasons why I have come into it, that maybe the issues that we are advocating for, we would serve as reminders, the teams that we would be working with, that they know that if we repeat these mistakes, the same fate will befall us. But again, is that not the inherent beauty of this democracy? This multi-party democracy where one comes and one goes? I have principally always believed that 8 years, it's good unless an administration shows stellar performance, a marked departure from a previous administration, from the time of Jerry Rawlings to the time of Kufuor, to the time of Mills and Mahama, and to the 4-year term of President Akufo-Addo. No government since the 1992, the Fourth Republic, has broken the 8. And so my question is, how can NPP, having done almost 8 years, tell us they want to break the 8? I listened to you, Bernard. You are the economist. Me, I ran away from economics in Legon. I'm not going to mention the indicators because you have always spoken about the indicators. You have had cause to declare on your program that this economy has been mismanaged, and the managers of this economy continue to parry blame to every other person other than themselves. You had cause to say that this leadership have been intransigent in terms of their openness to criticism and suggestions, because we ought not to have been running to the IMF if they had heeded the calls, the insistent calls, persons like you from CSO groups that was telling them that the excessive borrowing, the track that we were on, was going to lead to a certain death, which we are today faced with. Even in the light of it, we had people like our former finance minister speak to Parliament and tell us that we are still a proud people, when you knew at that time that you're making that proclamation that this nation was bleeding and was bursting as it seems. So for me, it's a matter of principle. A leader that doesn't show congruence with what he says is not a leader that deserves a renewed mandate.
But Shamima, I think the question becomes, fine, Akufo-Addo may have done badly. What shows that John Mahama is the answer to this?
He's either done badly or
I'm using your argument. I'm sitting in my media chair, so I'm using my argument. I'm saying that. So even if he's done as badly as you say, what shows that John Mahama is the answer? Because there's a school of thought that, look, the problem is really the merry-go-round. and we have a choiceless democracy between two parties who have the same mother but different fathers. So basically, they will mismanage, they will come in with good promises and highlight the failure of the other, and when they come, they do the same thing. So people are actually frustrated. So when media personalities like you or KOD come into politics and join one side, some see it as a betrayal. It's like, why don't you come for we, the middle people? Because the real problem is NDC and MPP.
Who are the middle people? We have chosen democracy and multi-partisan democracy as our vehicle for governance. Unless we have any alternative viable option, this is what we have. It has effectively become a duopoly. All of the other options that you mentioned, for me, are not options in this year's election. We are 4 or so months away to a national election. The leading vehicles are NDC and NPP, and a few other individuals that I do not believe can step into the fray. I think, and I have always said that the work of democracy does not end with an election. In fact, the work of democracy begins after the elected leaders. So we, the middle class, cannot remove ourselves from the problem. Because when you put your eggs in the basket, you are expected to wash the basket. What have we done as citizens in demanding strict accountability from those that wield power, from the duty bearers? What have we done in ensuring, like Kenya did, they didn't wait for an election to show them the Kokromoti power. The youth organized and demanded reforms, and they got reforms. It isn't as if we don't have examples of how and when we mobilize citizens' power, we can influence policy and influence change. Social media organized a campaign, Drop the Chamber. We saw effects about it. We saw changes that happened as a result of that activism. So activism is one of the major ingredients in ensuring reformation. Because if you say you are tired, if you say all the parties are the same, what is your alternative? What are you proffering? We have to ensure a sustenance of our society, and it has to be done in a certain orderly way. And that orderly way is cyclical elections. So a party comes in, they perform or they don't perform, you give them a renewed mandate, you're tired of them, and then you go. Democracy recognizes it. That is why the two-tenor. Because you know that as a human being, by the time you do 8 years, you're either confused, you're confounded with the problem, you become very jittery, you become defensive, and then you make more mistakes. So if you're carrying food that belongs to all of us, and we collectively see that you're becoming too tired, you know, and the burden of the courage is becoming too much for you, it is our duty as citizens to relieve you of that burden and give it to somebody who is taking a back stage and has rested. So yes, am I happy that we have become a duopoly? I'm not. But that is the same patterns we have seen. It's not only Ghana. In other advanced countries, they have effectively become a duopoly. So don't vote for NDC and go to sleep. Don't vote for MPP and go to sleep. It is we humans who have created the democracy we have. Today, Kweku Kwarteng is drawing our attention to some of the ills of this democracy, because it does have inherent weaknesses. It is up to us to insist on the necessary reforms.
All right.
It's as if we don't have power, but we have power when we mobilize as citizens, as middle class, as the media.
All right, Shamima.
Being able to retreat to power, this is how we have to do it.
We'll come and look at some policies, but I want to take a short break. This is the point of view. Tonight, I'm talking to media friends who have now become full politicians. Shamima Muslim Al-Hassan, who's the, journalist, civil society, gender activist, now political communicator for NDC. Kofi Otre Dakun, journalist, fashion designer, businessman, music producer, everything else. Now a politician. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.
I can say for a fact that you guys have not disappointed me at all. Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, next President of the Republic of Ghana. Excellency, We need that change that we've been yearning for. And that's why I stand here today to endorse His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as the next President of the Republic of Ghana. I endorse President Mahama because he embodies the leadership and vision of our country, one that needs to be done in this very turbulent time in our country's history. Before the time of the last millennium, we saw him in 1996, serving his people of Bolivar rising through the ranks to become the commander-in-chief in this country. Do you think Mahama is capable of taking Ghana to the next level? Yes. As I endorse him, I don't know about you, but I want to put on Mahama because he truly has the youth of this country at heart. I believe in him because he's a leader who accepts when he's at fault and makes an effort to amend things. He resolves things. I have no doubt that the Mahama 24-hour economy will create decent jobs for the youth in all sectors, including the creative arts and, of course, hospitality sectors. Even more exciting is his promise to train 1 million Ghanaian youth in coding and invest 3 billion, in ICT to create 300,000 jobs. Many of our young people are done with university and they are staying at home doing nothing. We need that change. So, Ghana, we need that change. Yes. To the youth of this country, we all know that is this how you want to live? To the youth of this country, is this how you want to live? No. I challenge your family members, call your friends, anyone who's about 18 years, go out in your numbers. On the 7th of December to vote John Dramani Mahama. Your Excellency, you've done this before. Come the 7th of December, we're going to the polls and we're going to elect you. We know that you take this country to the next level, and that's why we're all here to support you. God bless John Mahama, God bless the great NDC, and God bless Ghana.
So that was KOD on the campaign platform on Saturday. He is now fully. So have you resigned from other things? So you are now fully in politics, or was it just an endorsement speech?
Well, it wasn't just an endorsement speech. I'm actually going to be on the road.
Really?
To the different parts of the country.
Wow.
I'm fully involved in this.
Okay.
I still have other things that I do, but fortunately, I don't have a boss.
You work for yourself.
I work for myself, so that makes a difference.
So you'll be campaigning with John Mahama.
Yeah, campaigning with John Mahama.
But I noticed you spoke more about John Mahama than about NDC.
Because there were different people coming on that platform to say different aspects of what their day was about. So my focus was to endorse him and also project what we have to do, especially for the youth. So
you are there for John Mahama?
Yeah, John Mahama.
So when he goes, you also go?
No, I don't live with him. I mean, my background has been in NDC. I've always had that soft spot for the NDC, so this is where I am till the end.
So are you on some committee? What are you doing? Creative arts? What are you doing for the campaign?
So I was part of the team that sat with His Excellency not too long ago. He met with the creatives. He wanted to know exactly what the challenges are in the orange economy. He's just not going to come and promise us. He wanted to know what the challenges are, what ought to be done once he has the mandate to take over the reins of this country. And so I'm part of that team, and obviously part of the presidential campaign team as well.
Bringing what skill set? Are you like producing musicians? Are you getting some communication thing going around?
Those are things we'll do as we get along. You won't believe there's been since I came along, there are quite a number of people, like-minded people like myself, who have called me from different walks of life and saying that, hey, listen, man, we're all going through the heat. We think this is the time to make this monumental change in this country, and we're ready to come aboard. Kofi, let us know what is there to do. So I'm going to mobilize people in the creative industry. Friends like John Dumelo, who's standing for Ayawa. So people like Fred Nyama, Rex Omar. We're going to take care of the orange economy. That's going to be our major focus. We're going to be interested in the youth and people in the creative industry.
So what is his policy for the orange economy?
Well, one of the things we're looking at, especially in the area of looking at the number of districts we have, is we are looking at using the assembly halls in the various districts. We want to enhance, for instance, the movie viewing. You know, we want to enhance people, instead of going to urban places to watch movies, people are struggling to put movies out like they did before. You know, we have just a few theaters in the country. We're looking at enhancing them, you know, spreading them through all the 275 constituencies across the country. We're not building. We're using the existing assembly halls. I mean, if we promise to build, we might not be able to do all of them. So we're using existing assembly halls. We're going to enhance them, you know, get all these young people to come out. In terms of the music industry, we know what happened before. It was under the NDC that we saw the first 2 million Ghana cedis being given out to the creative industry to ascertain where the challenges are, to see what needs to be done to enhance the music industry. It wasn't too long when we lost Professor Mills, and then, you know, President Mahama just had only one term. So we're looking at enhancing all the existing structures that we have. All the things that the NDC, even right from the days of the PNDC, established. And we're looking at taking all these things to the next level.
Well, people will say it was under the PNDC that entertainment and movies suffered the most.
Well, it was
the curfews.
The curfews.
So that industry actually was killed by your
like I
party's
said, that
people.
was part of some of the excesses of the revolution. I think that over time we came back to redeem ourselves. Who built the National Theatre? It was under President Rawlings. How many theatres have been built since the NPP got into power? There were quite a number of theatres that they had promised to build across the country. How many have been built? None of them.
So for you, the policy is to get communities to watch movies again?
No, that's not it. We're looking at like enhancing all the other things that we did in the past. I told you about the 2 million that was given to the musicians to just ascertain the things that where we have lapses and what ought to be done to enhance where we are. We're looking at imports tariffs, for instance, for people who are in the fashion industry, in terms of importation of fabrics and what have you, setting up garment factories in this country so that we can actually be self-reliant. We look more within instead of people bringing fabrics from outside, because it costs so much in terms of paying for some of these things, fabrics that are coming into town for people who find themselves in my area. In fashion, for instance.
So, but a lot of people are wondering, what can John Mahama do in 4 years? In fact, some people say in 2016, when he was voting for re-election, he basically said, you can't do much in 4 years, because he had done only 2012 to 2016. So now he has only 4 years. So what's he coming to do?
There's been that argument about what one can't do in 4 years. In the first 4 years that we had President Mahama, we saw what he did in terms of infrastructure. We saw the E-blocks, you know, some of the buildings that were put up for the working class to inhabit, which have been left in the bush. These are things that he's going to come back to continue. You know, it's going to be, for me, it's going to be a continuation of the things he started in the first 4 years of his term in office. And we saw where Ghana was. We saw where we are now. If you compare the two, you know, people compare. These are things you talk about very often.
But Mahama wasn't that great. It's just that Akufo-Addo probably may have been worse. But it's not
no,
like
I think if you're comparing Mahama and Akufo-Addo, you're comparing apples and melons.
I'm saying that the people voted against NDC in 2016 had a reason for doing that.
The reason people voted against John Mahama in 2016 was because we had experienced Doomsaw, and that was a situation that he restored. He brought in the power badges just before leaving office. It had just been restored, but people, it was not too far from when they had laid off workers. You know, people had left this country to go to other places because we were encountering that major power crisis. But he resolved them. He resolved them. So I think that he ought to be given that opportunity, another chance.
I'm still trying to get what he's bringing. Maybe when we come back from the break, we'll deal with that. We have a few minutes to go. This is the point of view. Tonight we're talking to two journalists, media people, 10 politicians who are now fully supporting NDC. The party launches campaign on Saturday. I have KOD and Shamima. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We're still on the point of view tonight. It's NDC launched their campaign. KOD is in the studio. Shamima Muslim Al-Hassan also joining us. Shamima, let me come to you. So I was asking KOD, so fine, Akufo-Addo MPP have messed up the economy. They've done a bad job. What shows that John Mahama will be any different?
Well, I think that the number one thing we all have to agree is that we cannot trust the people who are responsible for the crisis to be the people who would, ferry us out of the crisis. We wouldn't even understand. They won't give us the research. Hello?
Yes, you are on.
Can you?
Yes.
First of all, even the New Patriotic Party needs a reset, and they can only do that reset in opposition. How can we trust Bawumia to come and be accountable of their regime to Ghanaians? So number one, we need to understand the true state of the Ghanaian economy. It cannot be in the hands of the same people who have brought us. So the alternative viable option is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, because he has also been there. And when people ask that what can he do in 4 years, 4 years is enough to reset the economy, bring it back to its, to an even keel with regards to truly letting us see what the state of the economy is. What will it take that? It's just bringing sunlight to every aspect of the economy and quickly going into the areas that we know if we invested our scarce resources in, we would revamp productivity. And that's why, the economy is really very important. And then the big push policy, the women's bank policy, these are all engineered to increase productivity. When you take social protection, currently, there's something called the basket of goods within the social protection basket. In that basket includes capitation grants, leave, and it also includes labor-intensive public works, which happens in parts of the northern region. The philosophy of that is to put money in projects that are labor-intensive, that would give incomes directly into the pockets of people. Because when I say that, don't forget the indicators, Bernard. Let's look at the state of your own personal economy. And this morning on Metro, I was inviting Ghanaians to do a personal assessment of the state of their money, and that means their investments, their savings, their incomes. If you answer a question about the state of your money today and you think it's a fair question, all well and good. Anybody answering this question, giving the domestic debt exchange that we are currently running and the haircuts that even pensioners have had to ensure, knows that people's money is in disarray. Also, the state of your own health in terms of access and affordability. The health insurance is on its knees. The government has not been able to pay up a lot of the money it owes NHIA. People are buying drugs. It's not supposed to be cash and carry, but effectively our health insurance has become cash and carry. Even the issue of education. Bernard, you and I have been part of the Citizens Compact project. There are objective assessments of the implementation of the free senior high school education. I'm even holding the book here. There are recommendations that we must rethink the free senior high school education and ensure we establish a sustainable financing model, potentially rethinking blanket free boarding by means testing the policy to ensure only those in need actually benefit. There are practical things we need to do to reset the economy. And again, the issue of infrastructure. So when I talk education, it's about the access, it's about the affordability. A free that is not wholly free, a free that still has parents and guardians having to pay for extra classes, having to pay a lot of money to prepare their wards to school. These are practical realities that people are living. So when we go through all this and you come and tell us that, no, everything is fine, your situation is better, your management is better than yesterday when the city was $1 to 4 cities and today it is $1 to 6 cities. There are other issues that I want to draw our attention to. Yes. The state of our participation.
Shamima,
You know, it is very... Yes, Bella.
I know you have a lot to say. I want to read a few comments for you and KOD whilst we wrap up. So here's a few. Good evening, Bernard and KOD. It's time we stood up with one voice to dictate the political pace of this government and these politicians. The indicators of the economy are negative. The fundamentals are nothing to write home about. We have to stand up to the politician. Educational system is in total shambles. MPP must go. Lambert from Sugakope. But our country needs all of us to stand for it, whether journalists or other professionals. When the country falls, we fall with it. We are the first Ghanaians. We are first Ghanaians before professionals. KOD, Shamima, etc. Thank you for being the mouthpiece for those of us who can't come out. This government has disappointed us big time. This is Seshi from Seshi Aram. Shamima is so excellent and good at it. I think MPP is a good political party during Kufuor's time, but Akufo-Addo Bawumia have destroyed it. Looking at the two alternatives, MPP, NDC. NDC is the best party at this side. I am Peter Dell from Koforidua. Enyonam says, KOD is doing a good job, and Shamima too. The government must be pushed out. It's disrespectful for Bawumia after all the mess to put himself up for election as president. We'll be rewarding mediocrity if we voted for him. A new government must retrieve all state money that have been taken under the white-collar crimes. Money under the guise of legitimate business must be brought back. There's a lot of expectation for whoever wins the 2024 election, and there's also a lot of work.
There's a lot of work.
I can only wish you well, all of you who are in the political frame, and I wish you Godspeed as you campaign. Shamima, thank you for being on the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bernard. Thank you.
KOD, good to have you. Thank you as well.
It's great to see you, Bernard.
Wonderful. Thank you, viewers, for watching. That's all we have time for today's edition of The Point of View. It's been an NDC version with Shamima Muslim Alasan and Kofi Otredako. And we will see you next time. Have a good night.